Hello everybody, welcome to the West Ham Way YouTube channel. It's Corey. There's no Dan this evening, but I've got someone in to fill his place, giving us everything on Manchester United. It is Adam. I'll let you describe your handle, mate. I don't want to ruin it. Go on, give him a little introduction as to who you are and what team you support, clearly.
Yeah, so I guess it's clear from what I'm wearing. I'm a United fan. And yeah, just starting out on the sort of whole football social media stuff. I run a channel called The Trequartista. Just sort of do little skits here and there, reviewing various Premier League games and other things. So yeah, very much looking forward to this preview, and thanks for having me on, Corey.
Absolutely no problem, mate. I've seen some of your stuff and it's quality, and you know what you're talking about, and we need that particularly when we're talking about the opposition. So people don't just take my word for it. We've obviously come off Manchester United drawing last minute to AC Milan. I thought AC Milan had a perfect game plan. I thought they played really, really well. Is it just this constant up and down with Manchester United, mate, where you get the result against Man City and then you should go and win tonight particularly and at least keep the clean sheet, and you don't, and then there's more frustration behind that?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't shocked by what I saw because we've seen it a lot this season. It's just sometimes we get away with it and sometimes we don't, to be honest. I thought today we would see it through. Even though we didn't play well, AC Milan were by far the better team for large parts of the game. But again, just letting it slip. A bit of individual brilliance from Bruno finding Diallo with that pass. But other than that, pretty poor, and we kind of got what we deserved.
Yeah. No, I mean, you did. It's strange, mate, isn't it? Because against Manchester City, I thought Ollie got it spot on. To be fair, I think Manchester City was showing vulnerabilities even against us when we got our goal. Wolves when they pressed them, and I think Ollie recognised that and saw the weakness, and he did his homework. And then sometimes I watch Manchester United, and there's almost no idea as to what he's trying to do, and I don't think Ollie's very proactive in terms of the sort of tactical battles against him. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, if you look at the games where we've sort of had, or Ollie's had his sort of best performances, be it, the clashes with City, even beating Sociedad 4-0, those sorts of games, even PSG away back when, he was still temporary manager and everyone was going on about Ollie's at the wheel. It's always a defensive masterclass. It's always, we sit back and we break on the counter. Some individual moments from players like Rashford and Bruno and things like that. That's when Ollie thrives in a defensive setup. And when you're at Manchester United, you kind of need a bit more than just being a counter-attacking team. Under Sir Alex, we were great on the counter-attack, but with possession, we could break teams down. It seems like when there's an onus on us to attack teams more, we struggle, and it's just a case of whether the players on the pitch can just bail us out. There's not really a set structure. Which is kind of why I'm a bit nervous about this game, even though we just beat City in one of our best performances in a while.
Yeah, look, I think it's probably fair to say. I think it's there's a tactical element to it, like you say, and I think also there's a personnel side of things. I think tonight we saw the quality inevitably of Manchester United is probably the reason why you're in the position that you're in, because players like Bruno Fernandes, I mean, take the penalties out of it, but in terms of his overall contribution and the freedom that he gets almost in that 10 can create. And obviously Rashford and Martial when they're moving into space. And I think that's why, just on the point of probably Anthony Martial, who probably now looks injured for Sunday, I thought he did a very good job against Manchester City in coming a little bit deeper. And I think he's been criticised throughout the season in terms of his hold-up play, but he was actually showing great awareness and adaptability. Your thoughts generally on Martial? Because I think he polarises opinion, doesn't he, for Manchester United fans?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of Martial personally. Obviously, there's all of that Martial FC stuff on Twitter. I don't really engage in that sort of thing, but I am personally a fan of him. He's not been good this season, but I think fans go a bit overboard with it. Obviously, last season he scored 23 goals. Like everything he touched turned to goals, because the way we play, we don't actually create a lot of chances for whoever's up top. But every time he was getting a chance last season, he was scoring. This season, it's not the case. He's missed a lot of big chances and his finishing's been poor. But his overall play hasn't been too bad. It's definitely dipped a bit from last season, but I think he's playing all right. I just think a lot of United fans are frustrated that he's not scoring goals, which I understand, but equally he's not getting chances. So it's not all on him. The system that we play, it doesn't really cater to strikers getting a lot of chances. Like like how many chances does like I don't know Jesus get when he plays for City, or like even
Yeah,
Sterling? Like they get chance after chance after chance, and they're not clinical. But if you keep getting chances, you will score. Even someone like Salah keeps getting chances. For us, like Martial, the chances he has had, he's missed them. He's missed some bad ones, but you know he should be getting 2 or 3 chances a game. Like against City, only had that one, which he should have scored.
yeah,
But like
definitely.
that was only one chance, and a lot of games like that, he only gets one chance, even though his overall play is actually decent, in my opinion.
It's a great. That's so odd, isn't it, with Manchester United? Do you think that with the players that you got, Rashford, Martial, Fernandes now,
Mm-hmm.
and I think there is a distinct lack of creativity. Do you think it's a concern more from the final four aspect of it in terms of the number 9 and 3 attacking midfielders? But what's been muted quite a bit are the 2 sixes in terms of McTominay or
Mm-hmm.
Fred, and the issue. And I think we saw that a little bit tonight with Matic and McTominay. They couldn't play through the lines, and I think Manchester United need a plan B realistically if they're ever going to compete for the title.
Completely agreed. Completely agreed. I think it's weird because there's no real balance in the midfield. We've got great players, but there's no real balance. The way I look at it is Matic, where he doesn't normally start, but I guess he's probably the one who's probably a bit more assured on the ball, but his legs are going. And in a game like West, if he did play against West Ham, I think physically he'd struggle in terms of keeping up with sort of the likes of Rice and Souček, just a bit more mobile players. Um, well, mobile, anyone's mobile compared to Matic, really. And then Fred and McTominay double pivot, a lot of energy, a lot of covering ground and stuff like that. That's what we like to see as fans, players putting the shift in, but then no ball retention, like you sort of hinted at there. There's no one really progressing the play. Like we don't have like a Declan Rice or Rodri, someone who can sort of dictate from deep. Those two, you even saw in the City game, like as well as we played, how many times did Fred and Scott McTominay give the ball away in that first half in particular? There's no real ball retention. And then Bruno often plays quite high. So even though Bruno's doing his own thing and he's really saved us, you've got a very disjointed midfield there, which means if a team does sit back against us, we're in trouble.
Yeah, that's such an interesting point, and particularly with Bruno Fernandes, because a couple of times I've done predicted 11s and watched a bit of United, and he's given so much freedom. Like he's not great defensively. He presses quite a bit. He's not very successful, but the freedom that he gets to come to either wing or pick it up from deep at times has probably been the reason why people say United are a little bit of a one-man team. But it's because of how much he can influence the play. I mean, from a West Ham perspective, he frightens the life out of me. He did last time when he came on in that second half at London Stadium, because he was showing actually his awareness from deep. And I think he played a ball through, I can't remember who it was, maybe Rashford or somebody like that. And that's the ability that he adds. He's gone from, he was a deep playmaker at Sporting Lisbon. Now he's playing more of a 10. It's a concern, mate. But I think West Ham almost have to set up defensive in this game. I think if we try and be a bit too expansive, I think we're playing into Manchester United's strengths.
Yeah, for sure. If you try and go toe to toe with us, even though we've got some injuries, things like that, if you try and go toe to toe with us, like look what happened to Leeds. I know you're a better side than Leeds, but if you try and go toe to toe to us, I think we can take you. I'm pretty sure we can. But Moyes will probably set up a bit more defensively. And to be honest, going back to the game in the league, your game plan actually works. Let's like I was watching that game with a West Ham fan, so when we won, obviously I was giving it the big uns, but like your game plan did work. I was aware of what I saw. Like for 60 minutes, you were the better team. You just didn't take your chances. Like you're making it difficult for us in midfield. We couldn't really play in between the lines or anything. You had a lot of chances. Haller, I don't know what he was doing when he rounded Henderson there. Bowen, I think. I think Bowen, he missed a chance as well. Like for 60 minutes, you were actually a better team and your game plan worked. But then as soon as, I don't know, maybe the legs tired, we brought on Bruno. It was just a different game for that last 30 minutes, and that was enough. But yeah, like I watched the last game, and even though we won 3-1, I'm worried because it was a 3-1 in the scoreline. But if you watch that game, it shouldn't have ended 3-1.
Yeah, I personally, at that time as well, when we were pressing from the front, I think we can do that a lot more effectively with Mikel Antonio. It's a bit gutting that Lingard's not in the side, because clearly we know his quality on the ball, but off the ball as well, the pressures that he offers, particularly when you look at if Lindelof comes in, and I feel like he possibly might do, then again, he's error prone. Maguire as well, I don't think he is as great on the ball as possibly he thinks that he is. So I think there are vulnerabilities there. But yeah, I think it was a risk, and I think at the time, West Ham have this kind of sort of moment where we've got to press Declan Rice and Souček up to get something. And I think that Moyes, particularly after Pogba scored, really, really wanted to go and get the equaliser or 2-1 or make it 2-1 or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then United just thrive on it. And it's difficult to legislate for a guy like Bruno Fernandes and Juan Mata at the time that can play a ball from 30 yards inside their own half. So it's a little bit frustrating, but I think, like we saw tonight with Milan, the fact that they pressed them at times, played a double pivot, squeezed the play a little bit. I would like to see West Ham employ that. But again, to do that, you have to have an athletic midfield, and I hope West Ham do in this case.
Yeah, I think the thing is, I think you can. I really think you can do that to us, because it's what happened last time. I feel like Souček and Rice, they complement each other well in the midfield, so I feel like they'll be key. And like I said before, Fred and McTominay, there's no balance. I mean, in terms of quality, I mean, Fred, McTominay, Souček, Rice, it's all even. But Souček and Rice, there's balance. They complement each other well. Rice probably a bit more better with the passing, and then you got Souček going forward with the late runs into the box and getting goals. I think that would be key. And then, I feel like the way Moyes sets up, I feel like he'll have done his homework from last time. And you'll make it a difficult game for us, particularly in that midfield. Like I said, I feel like we're a bit disjointed in midfield. And when I watched you guys, I see a structure, I see a team, I see everyone working. I feel like that could potentially be a problem for us.
Yeah, definitely. And we know the roles, and I think Moyes has probably impressed me more this season because he has flitted between systems and he has played different ways. And I think he did it at half time against you in the FA Cup, go into a back five that did work. So his understanding of the squad's capability is improving. Let's talk about Luke Shaw, probably a starter left back for England. He's been in phenomenal form this season. He has really impressed me. Is that largely down to Alex Telles coming into the side and almost giving him some competition at left back?
Absolutely. Like with Luke Shaw, even last season, we saw this as well. He needs competition because he started this last season fairly poorly. Obviously, Brandon Williams comes in and actually took his place around like November, I want to say. And then Luke Shaw got injured for a bit. Williams was still starting. And then as soon as he realized like he might actually play, that's when he played some of his best football around that January time where he came back into the team. He looked really good again. And then he sort of tailed off. He got injured after the restart, like a couple of games into the restart. I think he got injured. And then, he didn't start this season great. Telles gets the nod. I had a couple of good games. Telles was good against you guys, actually. He had a couple of good games. He had a good debut. And then that was a kick up the arse Luke Shaw needed. And then, ever since then, he's never looked back. He's one of the only players who I can say in like the past 10 games, I know I can rely on. I know he'll put in a shift or get forward, good defensively, even though Moyes did put him on his knees the other day, which, I mean, it was kind of funny. But in general, he's good defensively. And been one of the best left backs this season. And we always knew he was capable of doing so. With Luke Shaw, it was never a question of ability. It was just, does he want it or does he not? That was it. I've never questioned his ability. I've just questioned whether he wanted it, because Mourinho and Van Gaal were both critical of his attitude, of his application, and things like that. And rightly so. A lot of United fans defended him because they like Luke Shaw, but they were right to do that. But now we're seeing him apply himself. We're seeing what he really can do. Because remember, what was it, like 2013, 14 when he broke through, how we were all talking about him. Like there is a player there, and I'm glad we're seeing him fulfill his potential.
Yeah, and he used to fly forward for Southampton. I think that's where he kind of made his name. And I think you're seeing that link up between him and Rashford this season as well. And you're getting those overlapping options that I don't feel that Wan-Bissaka really offers on the right-hand side in terms of going for brilliant defensively. I think it's going to be tough for West Ham in terms of if we do play the 4-2-3-1 that we played last time out and beating your fullbacks, because how good they are one-on-one and in terms of the personnel. So, I mean, we're probably... I imagine Fornals will play on the left and possibly Bowen now on the right with Lingard out and trying to beat those players and progress the play. Again, it's almost like we might have to call on a Soufal or a Creswell to make those overlapping runs and create those overloads. I mean, is there a concern in terms of your perspective on West Ham's attacking players now? Obviously, I know Jesse's out and I'm sure we'll touch on that subject, but Mikel Antonio, Said Benrahma probably coming in at 10. Do you feel that there are real players there to hurt Man United?
Absolutely. When Antonio's fit, which he is now, he's a handful. He's a handful. And Maguire maybe he's a bit more used to dealing with that, but Lindelof can be bullied. We've seen it many a time this season, just throughout his career. I don't think he's a bad centre back as such, Lindelof, but if someone puts it on him, he does struggle a bit. So Antonio's definitely a threat. Ben Rama, I think he's decent. A lot of rival fans always point to the fact he hasn't. I don't think he's scored yet for you guys. But if you watch him play, but if you watch him play, like he's a creative threat. He's creating a lot of chances, getting assists. So I think he's a threat. And then just generally, just set pieces. I don't know how many times over the past few years West Ham have scored a set piece against Man United. Like it happens all the time. We still can't defend set pieces. And it doesn't matter how bad you guys have been, you're always a threat of set pieces. And now you're good as well. You're playing really well. I think the set pieces and you just getting crosses into the box, with the likes of Cresswell or even Sofal, whoever it may be, that's my worry, like the aerial threat, because we can't deal with that. Like, throughout the years, we've had the likes of Fellaini, Matic, Smalling, now we've got Maguire, and other players who are, quite tall. Pogba, when he plays, we still can't really defend from set pieces, and we're playing, one of the better teams in the league at that. So, yeah, the physicality and the aerial threat, I'm nervous about, because you guys always score set pieces against us, man. I've still got that last game at Upton Park ringing in my mind. 2 set pieces.
Yeah.
That was all she wrote.
Mate, that was a gorgeous game. Yeah. Other than obviously leaving the bowl in, but no, like I think we even saw it in a reverse fixture in the Premier League, Souček, and I think I picked it up. Some of the analysis I did, like United can't really deal with second balls, and I think it come off Rice and then Souček back post, and no one's aware. I think you even see it tonight, mate. To be honest,
exactly.
I think it was the AC Milan defender. He's made the run, and McTominay's just not picked him up. And I know Henderson is probably at fault, given it was kind of at him. But at the same time, if you're defensively more aware from the set pieces, that situation isn't even happening. And I think, again, I'd like to see West Ham take the impetus in an attacking sense, and possibly not in terms of being expansive and playing a high line, but certainly pressing from the front and trying to create set pieces for us, because the weaknesses for United are all over the place. And I think as well, I look at the centre backs, and I possibly think Eric Bailly is a better partner for Maguire, but just in terms of the positioning, like they tend to come very, very narrow, give up a lot of width, and then if someone goes and presses the sort of wide areas, then there's space in behind. So do you think it's a coaching thing with Man United, or do you think it's a personnel thing in terms of the defence?
I think it's both. If we're talking the defence, it's both. Because Maguire and Lindelof don't suit each other. I think everyone knows that, apart from the manager, which is unfortunate. But like you said, like Maguire and Lindelof, there's no pace on the cover. If we're trying to, a lot of teams are going to sit back against us, which means we can get countered or whatever. We need some pace on the counter. Neither of them have that. Bailly does have that, and Ollie doesn't seem to trust him. I can understand it to a point, just because you don't want to rely on someone with his injury record. But for me, like, Maguire plays his best games when Bailly's fit. So I feel like we don't necessarily have the best centre backs, but we have 2 centre backs who complement each other, and Ollie doesn't seem to trust it in the bigger league games, of which playing you guys is definitely this season one of those games. So yeah, Maguire, Lindelof, I'm not really sold on it. And then just on the back four as a whole, we're trying to play out from the back a lot with, De Gea won't be playing, but De Gea, who we know can't really play out from the back, he's never really developed that part of his game. Yeah. Wan-Bissaka, incredible one-on-one defender, but if we're trying to play out from the back, why did we put 45 million on him when we know he can't really do that? Maguire, again, people think he's good on the ball. I don't. If you're taking 5 touches to make a simple pass, you're just condensing the space for whoever gets the ball next, and that's what he does a lot. Lindelof's all right on the ball. I'll say Lindelof's decent on the ball, to be fair. Same with Luke Shaw, but just the general setup, it doesn't really sit with me. So I do think it is a personnel issue to an extent, but I'm seeing other teams coach better systems. I mean, look how Leeds play out from the back. There are coaching things that could be done, because money is not always the answer. That we can do things with the players we have, but we're just not doing it at the moment.
Yeah, I got to agree. From just sort of looking outside in, I just feel like Manchester United have got the play. Should be playing much better. All the players should be playing more to their potential. And I think, yeah, there is an argument possibly with Lindelof, Maguire. We talk a lot about mobility, and I think that's been a concern with both of them. But then if you have centre backs like that, why at times do Manchester United play such a high line? And it doesn't really. And I know you put the double pivot in there, give them a little protection, and I get it, but it only feels like, with me looking at it, Manchester United only benefit from that when you're sitting in a low block and you've got two defensive midfielders in front of you and there's the protection. But from what I can see, everything is done to protect the two centre-backs. And if that's the case, then why haven't Manchester United looked to change it?
I don't know. Like I think you said about Moyes, he's been proactive. Ollie has not really been proactive since he's came here. 4-2-3-1 sort of been the main thing from the get-go. Some people thought we'd try this diamond. We've tried a diamond on a few occasions. I've never really been convinced by it. It doesn't really look like it's been practiced. It just sort of looks like Ollie just said, why not?
Here's a diamond. Give it a good go, lads.
exactly that. We've also tried like three at the back in some of games like in some of the Champions League with mixed success. Because obviously the Leipzig game, we sat back and they killed us for it. So yeah, but Ollie's not proactive with it. I just feel like I feel like ever since probably the 6-1 against Tottenham, I feel like his thing has just been protection and just sit back. Like we always played the 4-2-3-1, but Pogba and Matic get less of a look in. I know Pogba's injured right now, but those two get less of a look in because they don't provide that energy. Pogba's okay defensively, but we've seen him make a lot of high-profile mistakes and maybe losing the ball a bit in deeper areas. And then Matic hasn't got the legs really that Fred and McTominay do. So that's ever since then that's become his preferred thing, just playing those two, trying to protect the back four. Which for me, I mean, from an energy point of view, I get it, but then it's not just about that; it's about positioning as well. Because Fred and McTominay, they're reactive. They don't seek out danger. That's something that your boy, West Ham fans are going to love me saying this, but something your boy Declan Rice does very well. He sniffs out danger. He sniffs it out. Whereas Fred and McTominay, they're both reactive. So although that is good, it's high energy. If you get in behind that, then you're straight at the back four, who we know aren't necessarily the best, especially with dealing with pacey players and things like that. So yeah, it's the balance. Like I keep saying that word, but yeah, the balance is just all a bit off in a lot of areas, and Ollie hasn't done much to change it, which has been our Achilles heel this season.
That's so, honestly, that's so interesting because I was doing some research on Fred, and I know you talk about the energy that he has, and I think he has some of the most pressures in that Manchester United side. But actually, in terms of being successful pressures, he can get beaten quite easily, and he can make mistakes in terms of losing possession. And I think that's something that West Ham would be remiss to not take advantage of in terms of trying to push forward Declan Rice and Souček at times, forcing McTominay and Fred out to try and make the tackle. If we can beat that, and we know that Declan Rice is a very good ball carrier, Said Benrahma trying to play in that pocket. I just want in this game West Ham to start asking questions at Manchester United back four, because inevitably there are weaknesses there. And also by West Ham progressing a little bit in the midfield, you can keep Mickey Antonio on the shoulder. And I don't think West Ham, from probably the past two performances, all right, give the FA Cup, there was a lot of fatigue and we didn't have a fully fit squad. But the first time out, we didn't really do that too much. And then almost when we did, and it got to the 60th minute, we lacked energy and Manchester United start to pick us off. But do you look at West Ham's midfield, particularly Rice and Souček? I mean, there's a lot of discussion, particularly from me probably, but in terms of whether they're two of the best centre midfield partnerships in the league. Would you agree that those two are up there?
I think they're up there. Not necessarily. I think they're very good, but not necessarily because of quality, but because they complement each other so well. They get the best out of each other. You don't really see them expose each other's weaknesses. And yeah, I feel like you said, you've got Souček, who's, probably a bit more box to box, gets forward a lot more. Then you've got Declan Rice, who's more of the screen, who picks the ball up the back four a bit more and things like that. I feel like they're definitely, this season, they're definitely up there in the league in terms of quality, but also just the way they complement each other is very good. Ever since you signed Souček, we've seen Rice go up a gear. Because I feel like before then, with Noble in there, great servant for you guys, but I feel like, he probably is getting on a bit. He's not got the energy. He's probably not suited to the way you're playing right now. But yeah, as soon as you brought in Souček, Rice has gone up a level. and Souček's just hit the ground running. So yeah, I feel like you guys have done well there to sort of get that partnership going in midfield. It's been a problem for a lot of teams this season, and I think it probably could be an issue for us on the weekend.
Yeah, and I think that's been so good to see from Declan Rice's standpoint, having Souček alongside him, because Souček gets forward a lot. Clearly, he gets a lot of goals, and he's brilliant in terms of making late runs and creating overloads in the box. But actually, his athleticism to get back in that defensive position means that Declan Rice isn't isolated all the time. And I think at times you can see those two midfielders press and sit, and I think that's a little bit of a luxury. I don't think a lot of Premier, like you see McTominay and Fred. Okay, they might press, but do they have the technical quality? You know, is it going to be too sort of complicated for them to try and affect the play? But I think Declan Rice and Souček can affect the play further up as well. So it's been brilliant to see, mate. To be fair, it's been good to have them in there. It's been really good, and the fact that they can protect our centre backs and they have improved. In talking about West Ham centre backs, let's talk about Craig Dawson. What's the feelings and thoughts from a Manchester United fan perspective on Craig Dawson and his form at the minute?
Blue passport Beckenbauer, man. I've seen those videos going about. He's been probably, if you're looking at sort of surprises of the season, he's definitely been one. I don't think much was really made of that signing. I mean, it's not really a high profile sign. I think even some of your fans that I know were probably questioning it a bit, but I mean, I watched them a fair bit at Watford. I know a couple of Watford fans. I watched them. I was never really that impressed with him. I believe he was at like West Brom maybe before. He's just been an okay Premier League centre back. But now, like, I don't know what Moyes has been feeding him, but he's been class. He's been class. When he's not kicking people in the head, he's actually scoring goals, leading that back four well. Like he's doing really well. And yeah, like him and Ogbonna, you know, they've been pretty solid for you guys. I know Diop's come in a few times, but I don't feel like Diop will start on the weekend just from how I've seen you line up in the past. But yeah, Dawson's been class. Well, you think Diop will start?
Yeah, well, the problem is that I think Balbuena had been out. I can't quite remember. He might have been on the bench, but Diop's been starting. So he's first choice at the minute. But he's not done too bad since he's come in. I don't think he's improved. Diop's a player where he almost needs a couple of games just to get into the rhythm. And I think... But I can tell there's been an element of coaching behind the scenes, because every time a player's come in, whether it's been Balbuena or Diop, they've adapted very, very quickly. And I think that's been probably the key difference this season in terms of the back four. Okay. It's completely well drilled.
No, fair enough. I know Diop's been, you know, he started well. Obviously, Mourinho calling him a monster and that, and congratulating the scout. But then, yeah, it sounds like he's had an up and down time. But yeah, the guy who has been sort of ever present for you, like you mentioned at the start, Dawson, he's been the rock at the back for you, and scoring goals. Been a real issue. Again, he could be an issue if there's a corner or something with a late run. You know, we're sticking with this zonal system at a lot of corners, which isn't working. So he could be a threat there. And then just general, like, been impressed with him. I've been very impressed with him.
Do you want to answer this question?
I knew he was going to do that. Do you know what?
Remember, you are on a West Ham fan channel.
No, but here's the thing, like, do you know what the worst thing is about that? Is that if you'd asked me that at the start of the season, I would have laughed at you. But the fact that there's a debate to be had about that just shows you that, like, how sort of Maguire's just not lived up to expectation, how Dawson's exceeded them. I think, I don't know. I feel like it depends.
I'll put a diplomatic sort of spin on it and say that if you ask Craig Dawson to play a high line, it might be slightly problematic. I think there is a lot to say about the coaching, but you know, statistically, Craig Dawson's up there, mate. I'm telling you now. The stats speak for himself.
No, definitely. He's making a lot of clearances, a lot of tackles, and things like that. I feel like the way you play, it definitely probably means more sort of that style of defending as opposed to sort of high line and things like that. But yeah, I think one thing which I will say he is better than that Dawson is better than Maguire at is definitely just like aerial threat. Like Maguire, he's good at getting he's good at heading the ball, just not in the net. But like I don't understand. Exactly, yeah. He gets his head to the ball, it just never goes in. Whereas Dawson, it normally goes in, or like, you know, there's an actual threat there. There's actual accuracy. With Maguire, I don't know what it is. But I was like, oh yeah, like I don't really rate him, but I was like, okay, at least we're gonna have an aerial threat from corners. He's hardly scored from any corners. I'm pretty sure Dawson's got more corner goals in the league this season than Maguire has in the past 2 for us. I'm pretty sure. So not
I wouldn't be
great there.
surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. He's been a revelation, mate. I think he's improving. Like I think that, like I said, the whole of the defense for me is improved. But the fact Dawson come in from Watford, not a lot was known about him. I dug him out, to be fair, when he signed. That's been clipped up ever since. And yeah, he's been top class, mate. But the thing is, at the end of the day, for West Ham, we've got 2 centre backs normally, particularly when Ogbonna's fit, that we really, really trust. And I think there was a concern maybe if you'd had Rashford and Martial. I think that's probably looking less likely now, given the injury news that possibly they could be got at, particularly in transition. But you just feel that who are Manchester United in an attacking sense? Who are you going to have to call on? Because at the minute, you've relied on an 18-year-old tonight to come on. Brilliant goal from Diallo. But other than that, it doesn't feel like Manchester United. No Cavani, possibly no Martial. Who do you think is going to start it in probably one of those attacking 4 positions?
It's probably going to be Greenwood, James, and Diallo. I don't feel like Rashford will probably be back. I'm not really too sure on the Rashford stuff. I've tried not to look into it just because I've already seen too many injuries. I don't need any more things to upset me at the moment. So I've tried not to look at it too much. But Ollie is known for rushing players back. He's done it a few times. So if Rashford did start, it wouldn't surprise me as such, because there is, people are saying it's a doubt. No one said he's, ruled out as such. Although, yeah, Ollie does take a chance on players. Like Lindelof's been playing with an injury. I think it's a back injury all season. That's why he's been in and out a few times. I remember, what was it, last year, Pogba was injured. And then Ollie rushed him back for a game against Newcastle. He played the second half of that game. He already 3-1 up. I don't know why he brought him on. And then Pogba was then out and needed surgery. Ollie's got a reputation for rushing players back. So if Rashford did play it, I wouldn't be surprised. But it'll probably be the 4 that you saw in the second half of the Milan game. And right now, yeah, exactly. You're pumped by that, and it says, we're a team that relies on individuals, especially in attack. So yeah, not having that firepower of Rashford. Martial, I know he's not been scoring, but like you said, the hold-up play, other things that he offers. Greenwood, he's getting more involved in the games, but he's not really influencing them anymore. So yeah, he hasn't scored in a while, which isn't great. Although he's getting more touches on the ball, he's not getting them in the right areas. And then Dan James, I've never really rated him. He's just a kick and run baller to me. But if he gets a bit of space, he will be a threat. But I don't see you guys affording us that space. So
I'll tell you what, if he's coming up against Soufal on the right-hand side, I think it'll be even with the pace. And I think the way that possibly West Ham will look to play, I don't think we'll be... I'm not saying we're particularly expansive in a 4-2-3-1, but sometimes we allow the 4 to press and then we sort of sit a little bit. But I think we're going to ask if it's Bowen or maybe Fornals on the right-hand side to sit. I don't think Dan James, as almost an inverted winger, is going to trouble us too much. I could be speaking way too soon, but I think at times you're going to be so frustrated with probably your lack of creativity that you're going to have to force Luke Shaw and Wan-Bissaka forward, because it's going to be too easy for West Ham. Even if we played a back 5, there would be no concern. And I think that's what's so interesting with the way that Manchester United play. I know sometimes you switch when Rashford's on the left, he's probably better off the left, or Martial on the right, and you switch and they become a little bit more direct. But I just feel that the way that you play these almost inverted wingers at times, it doesn't suit what you need to do. You're not direct enough. You're not moving into space. Everything becomes a little bit too condensed. And listen, West Ham, when we were in that defensive shape, we're very, very difficult to break down.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, for us, like, the only real thing that we have is just Bruno and Rashford linking up. Like Bruno finding Rashford on that left channel, he cuts in, he shoots. That's something that's always been a threat. But like, just structurally, I don't really see what we've been trying to do recently. But like you've touched on and I've touched on, we often bailed out by individuals, of which most of them aren't going to be there. Pogba, he had good form. He's not going to be there. Rashford's not going to play. Martial, I mean, I haven't seen what Ollie said on it just yet, but Martial probably will be a doubt. So yeah, it's looking like a moment of, something off the cuff, and whether that will be enough, really. I'm not really sure where the threat is. And yeah, I feel like you're right. I think our fullbacks will have to get forward. Luke Shaw's been doing that well, so I'm not really too worried about that. I think he'll probably be the most creative threat other than Bruno. With Wan-Bissaka, he's getting forward more, but the quality, the end product's not there. He's definitely improved and he's being more adventurous, but it's just so there's some things where I almost feel like if you're at this level and you don't have the fundamentals, I don't see how it gets better. Like a lot like in terms of just the conversations that we have about Wan-Bissaka, I feel like it's what we were having with Lukaku in terms of his touch, his passing. If you don't have it now, there's only so much coaching you can do. It's just not who he is. So, I don't really see him causing you a problem. But, on his day, he can get a good few crosses in, but then who to? like that's the thing. I feel like Dawson will be able to deal with Greenwood up top potentially.
That's the thing. It's almost like the way Man United play doesn't lend to some of the strengths like tonight. I think everyone's asking Martial to come and drop deep, but then you're losing a man to play on the shoulder. And if you're not willing to get enough men forward, or you haven't got the quality to play between the lines at times, then it's a bit difficult. And Martial's role's change. And I think I'm slowly coming around to your idea of thinking that this squad, the Manchester United squad, is very disjointed in terms of what the sort of premise of it, what they want to try and do, what's the actual identity. And listen, let's not discount Man United by any stretch of the imagination, because in transit, you're definitely up there. For me, up there in the league, possibly maybe second to Liverpool when they were in their pomp. But for now, I think if you had Rashford and Greenwood as well, and the link up between, a very fast-paced passing between them, you can beat any team. But I just can't see West Ham being that naive. I genuinely can't. Go into Old Trafford, I think we'll be slightly more conservative, and then we'll press at times, but then we'll sit. And I think that's the way you beat Manchester United. You frustrate them because they lack creativity, and then you try and force them into errors.
Yeah, completely agreed. Like, if you do give us that space, it will be a tough game for you, that's for sure. But again, I don't see you being that naive. The past two times we played you, you weren't that naive. So I don't see why Moyes would try and switch it up again. Well, not again, but try and switch it up, basically. Yeah. It wouldn't make sense. But yeah, if there are spaces on the counter attack, and with the players we do have, we will create chances. I'm not really worried about that. But what we don't do is sustain pressure. We don't sustain pressure. It's just always moments. We're waiting for something. Like, even in today's game, like, we had a few moments. Like, Maguire missed a sitter, Dan James missed a sitter. And then other than that, like, there was no sustained pressure because we don't keep the ball well as a team. Yeah. So that could be a problem. I think, like, just not being able to sustain pressure. And then, like you said, you take away the individual brilliance of Rashford, and it's an issue. But like I said, those moments, have got us to second in the league. I'm not sure how, but we're there. And for a lot of games, that's just been enough. Bruno has been absolutely unreal. Rashford, he's had a dip in form over the past couple of months, but throughout the season, you'd say he's been one of the better wingers in the league. So yeah, those two have just been, along with Luke Shaw, moving forward at the left back, really sort of got us out of bad situations. But then sometimes, at the start of the season, well, not at the very start, because, I don't want to talk about 6-1 and all that. But like after that, around that November, January period, we were just winning games. We were just on the bounce. And, there was that feeling of, just because everyone was so bad, what if we could actually win the league? But like, I almost got carried away in that. I almost did. But like, if you just look at the football, it's not title winning football. Football's a team game. If you're relying on individuals to bail you out, it's an issue. I mean, De Bruyne was injured for City, and they arguably played some of their best football without him, because there are plans in place. If something does happen, and they can bring in other players.
And they're trying to accommodate him. Like, see, the other day, Gundogan's sitting deeper, and they're not getting that man in a box just to fit KDB in. So it's like that's changed the way that they're playing. I'm going to just, before we get to this question, Charles giving it the big one about talking with Manchester United at the Yeovil. This is the same man that said Mark Noble will end up at Yeovil next season. So enough of that. He didn't quite say that. He said at League One, so I'm not sure where Yeovil are. If any of the Yeovil fans are watching, I don't know where they are. What is because this is a good question, actually. What's the priority now? Because it's done us a favour, really, Milan scoring that last minute, because Manchester United have to go away and get 2 goals, basically. So is there... Do you think Ollie prioritises? He possibly looks at the Europa League as an opportunity to win silverware, or does he? Is top 4 just kind of what he needs, and that's basically his remit this season?
It's definitely top four. I had to have a think about that one, but it's definitely top four. We've seen with the lineup he went for today, bringing in Alex Telles, bringing in Eric Bailly, who, I mean, if you ask fans who should start, it would be Bailly, but Lindelof's his first choice. So yeah, I know we've got a lot of injuries, but those two changes there show me that the priority is top four, which I kind of have an issue with it to some extent. Obviously, for the club and all of that to get top four, bringing in players and all the buzzwords people say, yeah, but I want to win something. Like we've got a bad reputation at the moment for being bottle jobs, and I can't really. There's no real counter arguments. Every big game or most big games when it really matters. I'm not talking about a one-off derby game against City. Like when it really matters, a semi-final, we tend to bottle it. In the Champions League, we had that slip up against Istanbul. Okay, things happen, but then all we needed was just a point from PSG and Leipzig, and when it really mattered, look at what we did. So yeah. For me personally, it is the Milan game because I want to get through. I want to win something. The FA Cup, City is still in that, so I'm not really sure. And plus, Leicester will be a tough ask. The Europa League, Milan. I don't even know if we'll get through anymore, but if we do get through, we probably knocked out the best team there. So yeah, that's how I see it. Milan for me is the biggest game because I want to win something. We haven't won something in a while. All this talk of biggest club in the world, only the biggest club in the world, in my opinion, if you're winning titles or just winning trophies, whatever it is. But in terms of what Ollie sees, it's definitely top four. You'll see a stronger 11 like Luke Shaw come back in. You'll see it means more to him just from the lineup he plays against West Ham.
I hope he puts out a weekend lineup. To be honest, I'd love to. I think he might have to. I don't think he's got too many choices. But to be fair, mate, he took off Bruno Fernandes, didn't he, with 20 minutes to go. So I think he's definitely looking at Sunday, and he's going to play him. And like you say, Lindelof will probably come back in. So he is going to go for it. It's such an interesting, I think, sort of end of the season now for Manchester United because you've struggled a little bit of form recently, and there was kind of made possibly even a concern that you might drop out if Chelsea and Leicester pick up form, but Leicester have dropped a little bit, and then you've got like the result against Manchester City. What is the kind of ambition now, really? Because you can't win the league. Do you feel that you just want to see a consistent run of performances? Because as far as Manchester United should get top four, realistically, there shouldn't be any sort of the debate about that. But I mean, is there something that you'd like to see from Ollie between now and the end of the season that kind of reinstalls any faith in him, or are you more on the side of you'd like to bring in a different manager? I'm not sure it'll happen, but just want your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like from what I've said, I think it's clear that I'm probably Ollie out. But like for me personally, the guy I wanted was Poch. Poch is gone, so now we've got Ollie. I don't really see him getting sacked, so I'm not really pushing that because I don't think it will happen like you said there. But in terms of what I want this season, I want to win something. The title race. I mean, were we ever really in it? I mean, I guess we kind of were, but like when it got to crunch time, the form dropped off. But yeah, we've gotten to 4 semi-finals and not won one. That's embarrassing for a club like us. So for me, I personally, young me being a United fan growing up, seeing us winning would not have been like prioritizing Europa League, but that's where we are now. And yeah, I want to win that or the FA Cup. That for me, that is the priority. Obviously I don't want that to happen at the expense of top four, but a club like United, we shouldn't be looking at it like either or. We should be looking at both top four and winning something. I feel like the expectations of the fans has been lowered massively just over the past few years. To now that we're accepting that. But I feel like, that's a big thing right now. I feel like the ambition amongst us is really low. Like we should want to go and win things and still challenge, for the title and do things like that. We're almost 2.5 years into the process with Ollie. And although we're in a better position than from where he got us to, if you look at where we were under Mourinho, it's not really an improvement. Like Mourinho won 2 trophies. He got a 2nd place finish. So if Ollie doesn't actually win something, and let's say he does get top 4, because I feel like we should get top 4. I don't really see it as progress. So I feel like we need to just, if we're not going to win for leagues, I'm okay with that. City have been amazing in this part, in like the last 20 or so games, but we need to sort of look at ourselves and try and get that winning mentality back of the club.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because like you have got to those semi-finals before, and he's never been able to kind of break that. And I'm not sure whether it's a mentality thing, because I think when you had Mourinho and even Van Gaal to a degree, you had managers that had won it and sort of managed really really great clubs. And with all due respect, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has only managed Mulder, and Cardiff, and he got them relegated. And it kind of feels like when you brought in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I can only compare it to having a port cabin or something like that at school, where it's good for a minute and it's fine to get you through, but then long term, is it realistically what you want? And I've got to be honest, I actually think Manchester United have done well given what I've watched from them, because I think the players that you've got have dug you out of serious holes. And I think probably from your perspective, if you give any manager, like we touched on, possibly Poch, Tuchel, if he was available, having someone like Martial, Rashford, Cavani, Fernandes to call upon, you would be up there with Manchester City. I know there are fragilities and there are problems and there needs to be slight tweaking, but in an attacking sense, surely you're one of the best teams in the league.
100%. But like you said there, and like we've touched on, it's just always seems to be individuals. I feel like we have the players to make it work and have a cohesive system. Like City are going to storm to the league, and they haven't really had a striker playing. Aguero, I'm not really sure what's going on, but he's not really playing. And Jesus is not really the guy. They've been playing a system without a striker, and it's been working. Like that, there are things you can do with the players we have. I know it's not perfect, but that's the whole point of coaching: is hiding your players' flaws and really getting the best out of them. Like when Liverpool were at their best, I wouldn't say their squad was filled with world-class players or such, or they had all the best players. They've got great players, but what they had is a manager who got the best out of them and played a brand of football which was compatible with the players he had. I don't feel like we really do that. People always talk about, right now the topic is who's getting us the goals away from Bruno, because obviously Rashford, Martial, Cavani, Greenwood have all sort of had dips with goals. But then I look at it, they're not really getting many chances. I'm not seeing Martial miss like loads of chances. I'm not seeing Cavani miss loads of chances because they're not getting any. Like I've seen some stats go around that like Martial and Cavani are averaging 3 or 4 touches in the box each game. Yeah. So that probably means they're getting like one shot off in the box maybe each game. That's not good enough. And you can't tell me with Shaw playing the way he is, Pogba when he's fit, Bruno, all these players that we can't create chances. I just don't get it. I don't feel like it's a good enough excuse. Like, a lot of fans saying, "Oh, we need Sancho, we need this, we need that." I feel like right now, there's a lot we can do with what we have before we even say, okay, we need someone on the right who's probably a bit more creative, or we need a right back who's better on the ball, or whatever it is. I feel like there's structural issues, like Bruno Fernandes, Pogba, all of this, and our strikers are getting minimal touches of the ball, which means minimal chances to score. That's not good enough.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say you're spot on, but you're the United fan, not me. So I don't know what to do. That's just what when I watch Manchester United, that's just what I feel, and I possibly think playing 2 defensive midfielders doesn't help. But then at the same time, if you release a player, that player that creates those overloads needs to be creative enough to make those through balls and change things. And I think you. Personally, I think you did look better when you had Matic and Pogba, because albeit Matic isn't the most mobile, it freed up Pogba to get forward and create. And I think that's where you saw Manchester United start to grind out games. And I think that's what Ollie's been missing. But, we could go on for days about Manchester United and the problems they've got. I want to touch on Dennis's question here. Talking about Phil Jones. Should he sign for West Ham? I mean, you got to take that with a big pinch of salt. But I mean, just your thoughts on Phil Jones. Where is he, by the way? I haven't seen him for probably the best part of 2 years at the minute.
I think he's actually registered in the squad. I don't know if he's injured or not, but yeah, I mean, he's there. You can take him if you want.
I'm all right, man. I'm good. You keep hold of him. He's not another Jesse Lingard, surely not. He's not going to come to life when he comes to West Ham.
Not a chance. I mean, I think he played a game against Sheffield in the league, and he was so bad, Ollie hooked him off at half-time. Ollie never makes changes at half-time unless someone's injured or is going terribly wrong. So yeah, Phil Jones, I couldn't tell you a thing about him. I haven't seen him. You haven't seen him. Ollie may not have seen him. I don't know. Well, I don't know where he is. He's just chilling, getting 100K a week. Like, I'm pretty sure he's on like something. He's on stupid money, just chilling. And yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a shambles that someone like him's on 100K a week. But that just shows you some of the structural problems that we could go on about with Man United. But we'll stick to the preview and stuff. I don't want to go down that route yet.
I don't want to upset you. I've got you on to talk about it. You're going to go away thinking, "Oh, it's all doom and gloom." I know you're second in the league, but it probably feels a lot worse. Then he says, "Years, please send this up. I need to send this up, mate. I will. I'll do it later. I'm busy. I'm working." No, seriously. I mean, where do you think West Ham can finish this season? And I think this is I'm interested to hear your thoughts as a external fan, because I think I've been on multiple shows and I've been invited onto shows now because West Ham are competing in the top 4. I'm not quite sure why I'm there, so I just want to know your thoughts. Do you think West Ham can sustain this challenge? Because for me, I think having only lost twice in 2 months now, the improvements as I watch them week in, week out that I've seen, I think we can challenge, but I'm not sure. I think it depends a lot on the form of the teams around us. Tottenham, unfortunately, now coming into it the way that Chelsea play. But just your thoughts, mate. Can West Ham pull off an unbelievable Champions League coup?
I think you can, but whether you will is the issue. Because if you'd asked me after you beat Tottenham, I felt like it just seemed like everything was right. Like a big game like that against your bitter rivals. I mean, I'm not going to say you played them off the park, but you until they brought Bale on, they didn't really have an answer for anything you were doing. And it just seemed like, do you know what? They might just do it. But the way Chelsea are playing, they haven't lost under Tuchel. They're keeping clean sheets. Werner's still missing sitters, but Tuchel's got them playing well. Bale back in form. Tottenham are a threat now. I thought you'd buried them, which would have been rather fitting. You bury them again. Top 4. That's a West Ham fan's 3 minutes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they've come back, beat Burnley, Fulham, and Crystal Palace, and all of a sudden they've popped up again. So I'm slightly gutted about that.
So I think you can, but it will be tough. It's looking a lot tougher than what it was 2 weeks ago. But the way you're playing, I feel like you can. The only reason why there's really any doubt is just because we're not used to seeing it. That's the main thing. It's similar to United. People were iffy on the title challenge just because it hasn't happened in a while. Even though we were winning, we were playing all right football and we were winning. We were technically there, but no one was really talking about us. I see similar things with you now. It's that we're not used to seeing you in the top 4 race, so people are a bit iffy about it. But if I just watch you play football, I think it's possible. I definitely think it's possible, but I'm not sure because Leicester, it looks like they could be having their dip. So who knows? But Chelsea, I think they'll go into it. So just one spot probably, and also Everton can't write them off as well with Ancelotti. But I think there's a debate. I think there's a debate to be had. I think you could do it, and if you beat us, then it gets a lot more likely.
I think we have to beat you if we're going to force ourselves into it now, because I think there's no doubt that we should be in Europe next season, particularly if we play the way that we're playing. But having said that, it's very tough because it's so congested, and at any time someone can slip out and slip back in. But I think United's an interesting one from my perspective. I look at it just as an opportunity to maintain momentum. I think the injuries that you've got and the concentration on Europe could actually impact us positively. So I think we can go to Old Trafford, and I think having played against you twice this season and seen the improvement, albeit without a fully energised squad in that second half in the FA Cup, I feel like Moyes will adapt, and I think that's been probably the most impressive element of David Moyes this season, in that he's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. Probably the first time he come in and the second time there's a lot of mistakes and a lot of dithering. But actually, I think that now he's shown his qualities as a coach and as a manager. So I'm hoping we go there and listen, if we get a point, it's a good result for us. If you probably get a point, it's a bad result for you, depending on how the game goes. But I think we have to look more at Leicester and Chelsea. I think they're more 6-pointers because I believe West Ham can pull something off. And if you do it in games like that, then all of a sudden we can throw ourselves back in there. But I try not to look at the table too much, mate, because if I look at it, I looked at it 1 week and it stressed me out. So I'm just taking it game by game and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's sort of the way you got to look at it, especially when it gets to this stressful time of the season. All that matters now is results, not really even performances. You just got to get through games and try and get to the top 4. And yeah, on the cup game as well, I feel like the only thing that was missing there really was you didn't have a striker. You didn't have a striker and you didn't have Lingard. Again, you set up well. But I remember you were I was calling one of my mates while I was watching it. He's a West Ham fan. And you guys were on the counter. I think it was Fornals, Mark Noble, and someone else on the counter. And it was the slowest and most diabolical counter I've ever seen. And he was just screaming down the phone to me. And that was the thing. Your plan defensively was going well, but you didn't have anything up top. So it could be third time's a charm for you. I'm hoping it's not. I'm hoping we can do it. I think we can do it, despite all the things. Like I said, Bruno will sometimes, not sometimes, more often than not, he'll just turn up and be like, "We're not losing today." So I'm hoping that carries us over the line for a third time against you this season. So yeah.
Yeah, hopefully not. I can't let you go without talking about David Moyes as your former manager. What a turnaround! Not just from obviously the relative failure at Manchester United, but actually from him at both Sociedad and Sunderland, and almost being out in the wilderness. And he comes to West Ham now, and I think he's showing people, including me, because I definitely didn't want him back the second time, that he is a very good coach. But is it a surprise to you that he's been able to showcase his ability? Because I can't really remember too fondly that time at Manchester United, but did it feel a little bit hopeless with Moyes? Because obviously the drop from Fergie was quite substantial. But do you feel that maybe if you'd given him more time, he could have turned it around? Because I think that's been crucial for him at West Ham.
In terms of us giving him more time, I don't think it would have worked. Mainly because there was a lot more pressure back then. Like we just won 20th title. Like standards were high. Like I said earlier, the standards have dropped. But back then, standards were high. And if he had got more time, it would have got more toxic at the club. It would have got even worse. Like the fan base was really, it seemed really toxic. Like there was a lot of negativity going around. Even like players, like we had more big egos then, like winners who didn't back him. You had Ferdinand coming out and saying we just didn't know what Moyes was doing. He kept chopping and changing. So I feel like in terms of United, it's obviously harsh to get, well, not harsh, but look at how much time Ollie's getting when you say, David Moyes. That for a long time, Ollie's numbers weren't even better than Moyes's. So yeah, but it was timing more so than anything. Because if he was in now, the standards have dropped. So I don't feel like it. Yeah, I feel like he would have got more time. But back then, I feel like it kind of was the right decision.
I imagine it, and I think like knowing now what you know. To be fair, you have picked up, you've picked up trophies since Fergie left. It's not like you haven't been successful, but Moyes is such an interesting one, mate, because I think at Everton he wasn't great when he first come in, and he just sort of kept him up, and you gave him time and the choices over who he wanted in the club and the squad, and he improved. And it's exactly the same at West Ham, because it was when he come in the first time, he did a job. We were literally at what felt like a defensive block, and then Lanzini and Arnautovic, and that's what it was. And it worked, and he kept us up. Second time, very sort of felt a little bit similar. Just get the ball to Mikel Antonio, and he can create. But I think the more time he gets, the better this team gets. And I just feel like I think you get managers like that. I think you get managers that can come in, make an instant impact, and all of a sudden it's really impressive, and then dip. You get other managers that need a bit of time and just need to get their hands on it in the squad. But yeah, mate, I'm buzzing with David Moyes. I can't lie, he's turned it around for me. Give him a new contract. I don't think he's got one yet, so that'll be. Before I let go, score prediction, mate. I feel like I know you're going to go for Manchester United, but let us know what score you think it's going to be.
Yeah, I think my brain's telling me like a 1-1, but I can't say that. I'm gonna go for a 2-1 win. I think we can, despite the injuries and whatnot. I feel like the firepower, like Bruno Fernandes, he's dipped a bit recently, but I feel like he could probably see us over the line and we get a 2-1 win.
Oh, I'm going to go 1-0. I was going to go 2-1 nearly, but I thought I'm restraining. I think I talked myself more into it than actually thinking about it. But I think 1-0. I think we'll hurt you on a set piece, and I think you'll probably score later in the game if we sit back a little bit too much and invite it, and Bruno gets a penalty. Let's hope he doesn't. Because that is always the great equaliser. Listen, mate, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. It's been such a good laugh and great to hear about Manchester United. Before we go, actually, if we win at Old Trafford, yeah, exactly, mate. That's the clincher, isn't it? If he does it at Old Trafford, I think it'll impress quite a few people. Let people know, Adam, where they can find you on the socials. I'll put your link in the description as well after this.
Yeah, awesome. So that's my Twitter out there that you've got there. And then most of my stuff's actually not on YouTube. It's on Instagram. So just the Trequartista. I do have a YouTube channel. I'm not a dinosaur. Just don't really use it that much. Do most of my stuff on Instagram. So definitely go over to the Instagram to check out most of my videos. I also do like some football blogs here and there. I like writing about football and just having my say on things. So I've also got a blog as well. The link in that is on the Twitter bio and also the Instagram bio. So make sure you guys check that out as well.
100%. Check Adam out. He's on it all. He knows what he's talking about. It's great stuff. Right, everyone, we're going to wrap it up there. You're going to get your predicted 11 and opposition analysis videos out. You'll have your predicted 11 tomorrow and your opposition analysis out on Saturday. And then we'll return, of course, on Sunday for Manchester United versus West Ham, the watch-along. Usual suspects, I imagine. Dennis and Charles, hopefully Angus as well. And hopefully it is a West Ham win. I would love to see it. So take care, everybody, and I'll see you very, very shortly.